Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reading update. So, for those of you who watched my video yesterday with my weekly TBR, you might notice I'm, same gray shirt? Yeah, that is because I am literally filming this right after that video. Reason is because normally I film these videos on a Sunday. And the reason is because that I am actually working Sunday. And I'm not going to have any time to get anything filmed. Now, the thing is, I've got 2.5 books to talk about. I say half because, friends, I DNF'd a book this week. And so I've got 2 books that I finished, and then one I got dragged down on, and I should have DNF'd it sooner. I kept thinking about it for days, and I didn't, and I'll explain it when I get there. But I probably would have gotten more read if I'd just given up the ghost, at that time when I decided to do that. So the 2 books that I'm currently reading, there is a very, very good chance that I'm actually going to finish them today. But I didn't want to wait until much later today, and I wasn't going to be able to film anything on Sunday. So I just thought I'd sit down today and do the filming. If next week that means I have a ridiculous amount of books to talk about that I finished, then so be it. I have a ridiculous amount of books to talk about. But I have the 2 books that I finished, the one I DNF that I am going to briefly talk about, and because I did get about halfway through it. And I'm going to share with you what I'm currently reading. I've got no crafting stuff to show you this week. I'm going to try and keep this video relatively short because I don't have a lot to talk about. And I did get some book mail, so I'm going to share that as well with you guys. So this is for April the 30th through May the 6th. And yeah, this was for week number 17. So the first book that I finished was From Boardroom to Bedroom by Jules Bennett. This is a Harlequin desire novel, and it is book number 3 in the Texas Cattlemen's Club, the Inheritance series. So I have been reading some, I don't want to say like back catalog or, not throwbacks, because these are clearly new. This was published in February of 2020. So it's like 3 or 4 years old, but I have been reading through some of these like as an extra book every week. So if you follow me on Goodreads, you're going to see that. And I will explain what I'm doing in a video to come in the next few weeks. Because it's kind of a little Harlequin project that I'm doing, and I'm super, super excited about it. And it's a project that is going to probably take the rest of my life. So, and I am perfectly okay with that because it means I will always have something to read. So, yeah, I will talk about that in a video to come at some point. But yeah, I did finish this book. So this is the story of Sophie/Rosalind and Nigel. So I like this book. I gave it 4 stars. But there were some things about it. This was almost edging more on a 3.5 to a 4-star read. So in this book, this entire Texas Cattlemen's Club, the Inheritance series, it's about a group of siblings. And their father was very well-to-do. They lived on this big ranch growing up. He had a lot of money. Their mother passed away. And then he remarried a much younger woman. And in his will, he left everything to this woman. So the book series, like this entire, I think it's a 6-book series, is kind of them coming to terms with and trying to deal with the fact that they missed out on this inheritance. And it's not, they keep reiterating in the book, it's not the money, it's the memories. Like the house that they grew up in was given to this new wife, kind of an idea. And anyway, our main character, Sophie, she is kind of makes this decision that she's going to go to New York because Miranda, which is the ex-wife, or the wife's, the widow's name, if you will, she works on this TV show called Exes. It's almost like a Real Housewives of New York, but it's Exes. And she wants to find out dirt on her so that they can go back to the lawyer and be like, oh, look, she didn't really love the father. She didn't really blah, blah, blah. So she goes undercover because she actually has a very, very successful YouTube channel doing interior design. And she's a very well-known interior designer as well. So she dyed her hair, put on glasses, and we all know that glasses completely changes the way that you look. So I'm looking at you, Clark Kent. So anyway, so she does this, and she meets Nigel, who runs this show. He's a very well-to-do English. He's from the UK, if the name Nigel didn't give that away completely. And the two of them end up falling for each other, and, this is a desire novel, so, sexy hijinks ensue. My issue with this one is that even once they started their physical relationship, Sophie did not admit to who she was. And, I mean, and I'm not justifying this, but, like, one night stand or something, you might not be completely, honest with somebody, but this is somebody that she worked with every single day. And he took her back at one point in the book, they go back to England for a week for his sister's wedding, and she still didn't tell him the truth. So of course, when it all comes out, people are pissed. So yeah, it's, like I said, 3.5 to 4 star. I didn't dislike the book. Jules Bennett is a great writer. I really, really like her stories. But this one, it really bothered me with the fact that, but I guess, I understand that Sophie couldn't say who she was until later because the story would have ended a lot sooner. So I fully get it for plot-wise of the story. But regardless of the fact, it's still, I don't know. I can understand that Nigel would have been furious and whether or not he would have forgiven her for that kind of an idea. You know what I mean? So anyway, the other book that I finished this week was Quackery by Lydia King and Nate Pedersen. I gave this book 4.5 stars. This is subtitled A Brief History of the Worst Ways to Cure Everything. I did listen to this one on audio mostly, or no, I did listen to it fully on audio because I had it from Chirp, and it was narrated by Hilary Hubbard. So this was really fun. 4.5 stars. Now, this is not for the squeamish at all. This book is, if you are squeamish in any way about anything medical, you might want to steer clear of this book. For the most part, I was okay because I'm not typically a very squeamish person. Where it kind of got me a bit was when they were talking about surgeries and how surgeries used to be performed without anesthetic, and which is, for me, who has gone through several major surgeries, it's the stuff of nightmares for me. So that part of it was difficult to read. And also stuff to do with the brain. I don't know why, but that one kind of, because they're talking about drilling holes in people's heads. Sorry, again, for people who are squeamish, but that kind of, but other than that, most of it talks about different plants and radiation and the use of slugs. And what I really liked about it, so they go through, and there's a great bit of humor in this book too. And they go through kind of for example, we'll use radiation or radium. So what happened to people who they thought radiation was going to cure everything, and it turns out that no, it doesn't. So they talked about different things that they did. People used to drink this radium water and thinking that it was the cure-all. And of course they all ended up dying. So they go through things like that. And then at the very end of the chapter, in whatever it is they're discussing, they discuss if that thing is still being used today and how it's being used today. So for example, for radiation, of course, in cancer treatment, in a very small dose kind of an idea. So it was a really interesting book. If you are interested at all in weird medical history or just medical history in general, and you're not squeamish, you might want to give this one a read. I did really like the narration on it as well, which was fun. But you might also, because I did actually have the Kindle book as well. And at points, when I was at home, I would be listening to it on audio and flipping through the Kindle edition, because there are some great old advertisements or I don't know why I said it like I was British. Advertisements for some of these things, way back in Victorian times, women used to order, or not just women, but people used to order tapeworms in the mail and then swallow them to lose weight. So you would see this ad, or how cocaine would have been in children's medicine, and you get an ad showing, the restorative powers of cocaine kind of an idea. So it was really, really interesting, and I liked it a lot. So yeah. And then the last book I'm going to talk about is the one that I DNF'd you guys. It's One of Us by J.T. Ellison. I am very disappointed. Maybe it just wasn't the right time for me with this book. So when I DNF a book, unless it's really offended me, I typically at some point I may go back to this one. Now, I did borrow this from the library, so I am going to take it back. But okay, so I started this book on Sunday. Yesterday on Friday, so this is going to, like I said at the beginning, this goes up on Sunday, but I am filming it Saturday. So yesterday on Friday, I was only halfway through this. That is, I have read a J.T. Ellison book in a day, but this one and the thing was, it wasn't the plot. A part of me almost, when I decided not to finish it, almost wanted to flip to the back to see who did it, to see what the suspense or the thriller part of it, or the murder, who the murderer was, essentially. Because I was super interested in that. That's about all I was interested in. I didn't like any of the characters in this book. I know it's a thriller and the characters are very unreliable, but there's usually at least one that you're kind of rooting for, if that makes sense. None of them. Okay, so I can't give away too much of the plot of this book because it is a thriller and there's those of you who might want to read it still. And I've heard mixed reviews. Like, one of my viewers said that they did not like this. They said it was meh. And then somebody else said they really enjoyed it. So, clearly maybe it just wasn't the right time for me. But like the husband and wife in this book, neither one of them I liked. I thought both of them were not very nice people. So again, I don't want to give away too much of the plot. This does deal a lot with fertility and with infertility. So if that is something that is difficult for you to read about, you might want to steer clear of this book because it's a major plot point. Let me put it that way. And there is a murder that happens and there's all these people that are involved. And each chapter is kind of given from a different character's perspective, like the wife. What else do you have here? The detectives, the husband, the daughter, the mother, all these different things. Like that's how, and none of those characters, especially the husband and wife, because they are our two main characters and they are the ones that I didn't like at all. I think if I had liked even one of them, like they had some sort of a redeeming quality for me, I would have been able to continue with this book, but they didn't. And even though and I own the book now on Audible because I did buy an audio copy because I could not get an audio copy from my library. Everything is like a 12-week wait because this is a brand new release, right? Like it was still on the table at Walmart when Garrett and I went over it this morning. But yeah, not right now for me, unfortunately. Nothing to do with the whole infertility thing. I just, as I said, did not like the characters. So DNF, it is what it is. So what am I currently reading? And like I said, I'm probably going to finish both of these books tonight. I am about 30% of the way through The Sisters of Luna Island by Stacey Hackney. This is a middle grade book and it is absolutely delightful and charming. I have it both on my Kindle and I also do have the audiobook from the library. So I was listening to it on audio a bit like last night when I was doing a live show and commuting yesterday, but I will be picking it up now to read in digital format as I continue today. Because once I'm done filming this, I have nothing else to do for the whole day except for sit and read. We went to Walmart this morning and got snacks. So we have weekend snacks and books. I am happy. So I'm reading that one right now. And then another one, which I guess you could consider middle grade. I've always thought it was more YA. But what was pointed out to me by several people is that often people who read, like children, prefer to read books about people who are older than them. And since Nancy Drew is older, these would count as middle grade. So I'm reading Mystery of the Tolling Bell by Carolyn Keene. This is the Nancy Drew Mystery Stories number 23. I'm about 30% of the way through this one as well. Both of these are reading very quickly. I should have no problem finishing both of them tonight, but like I said, I did not want to wait too long to film this video. So next week you will hear about both of these books in my weekly wrap-up. And the last little thing that this is a short video, you guys. The last thing that I want to share with you is some book mail stuff that I have. Okay, so some stuff I got in the mail and then some stuff I picked at the library. So if you watched my video yesterday, my Saturday video, you know that I went to the library to go and pick up Ghostlight by Kenneth Opel. Because I do plan on reading it this coming week and I'm very excited about it. I think it's actually the book I'm going to be picking up after I finish the Nancy Drew book. So I might even be starting it today. I don't know. Today isn't Saturday, so we shall see. But I am very, very excited about this one. So I went to the library and picked this one up. And of course you can't just go and pick up one book. You have to pick up multiple books. Because I don't make the rules. I just follow them. So one of the books that I picked up, this next one is one that I actually had on my middle grade May TBR, and that is What Lives in the Woods by Lindsay Curry. I was going to borrow it digitally from the library, but it was on the shelf, so I decided to pick it up as a physical edition. So clearly a creepy, creepy book based on that cover. I am a big fan of this author. I read Scritch Scratch by her last October, and I really, really liked it, so I'm looking forward to this one. And then the last one is just a book that looked interesting to me. I don't know if I'm going to get to it or not. We shall see. But I decided to pick it up anyway. And it's called Those Kids from Fawn Creek by... Why did they cover the author's name? Is it Aaron something Kelly? Anyway, that's the cover of the book if you guys want to look it up. So it says here, usually the 12 7th graders were careful to leave their faces blank and expressionless. No one wanted to be the first to admit that they were excited about anything. But this, a real-life new student, a real-life new anything, was far more interesting than any science experiment. People from somewhere else just don't come to Fawn Creek. So yeah, this one, I think it's a contemporary. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it looked really cute and I like the cover and it sounds interesting and no idea really what it's about. So yeah, I will report back. I'm hoping I'll get to it. So I have like 5 books, I think, for my middle grade May TBR. So one of them I'm reading now, the Luna Island book. Ghostlight, What Lives in the Woods, this book, and then I think the Aggie Morton, the Peril at Owl Park book. Those are going to be my 5 books for middle grade May. So yeah, so anyway, I got this one too at the library. And then I got some book mail. So for this, I blame Tiffany over at the Beach Bum Bookworm because she asked me during a live show a few weeks back, like, did I remember this series called Freshman Dorm, which was out in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And I do remember reading them. I remember picking them up at my library because the YA, if you want to call it that, the kids section, like there was no YA section back then when I was younger. It was like strictly like the kids section and then to like the adult section, but they had spinner racks. And the spinner racks always held the Sweet Valley books, the Nancy Drew Case Files books that came out in the 80s, and books like this. And I'm like, yes, I remember them. I read a handful of them, but I didn't read a ton of them. So Tiffany kind of really wanted to read them again, but they're not available digitally. She did find them digitally on Open Library, I think it is, but I don't like reading off of my tablet. I would prefer to read off of my Kindle or my Kobo because it's an e-ink display. But I did decide to go on Thrift Books and I found the first 3 books, so I ordered them. And I'm excited. So Tiffany and I are going to do a read of these together. I might hold off on the first one until August because I think that this book would be perfect for Garb August. Not saying that these are garbage books, but I mean, these are books that I read when I was like 7 years, or not 7, but like 12 years old or something like that. So many, many moons ago, and they are a bit trashy and fun, like the Sweet Valley books are, right? So the first one is, of course, Freshman Dorm. It's by Linda A. Cooney, best-selling author of the class of '89. That should tell you how long ago this book was published, but there we go. Like, the cover is embossed. Like, they really... My only complaint is that my copy is actually ripped in the back. You see that? So a little disappointing, but that's fine. That's fine. It's about 3 friends from high school who are starting their first year in college. Perfectly acceptable for a 12-year-old girl to be reading. Oh, it's a duo. It's an author duo. Linda Alpert and Kevin Cooney. Interesting. Published in 1990. So there we go. So there's the first one. And then the second book is called Freshman Lies. Looks really good. I love the back. This back isn't ripped. So you're getting each of these 3 different characters. And then there is Freshman Guys, which is book number 3. And if I enjoy reading through these ones, I will probably pick up some more. I think there ended up being something like 30 books in this series. So yeah, it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. Yeah. I mean, I remember these. I think Linda A. Cooney, or, you know, whoever, these duo of authors were. They also wrote some thriller horror type books, like along the lines of like Christopher Pike or Stephen King. So Stephen King, good Lord, R.L. Stein, that kind of thing. So yeah, they'll be fun. I mean, they're like $2 a piece. You know, why not? Why not? So anyway, guys, that is it for today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. I apologize that it's shorter than normal, but not a ton of reading this week, mainly because, you know, like I said, if I had DNF'd this book sooner, I probably would have finished at least another couple books. But I just kept saying like, oh, I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that. And then I'd be sitting there at night and I'd have no interest in picking this up and I'd just be watching TV. So, you know, if it was a book I wanted to pick up, I would have picked it up. So that should have been my first sign. And I've said that for this year. Like, I should just, if I'm not enjoying something, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm not interested and DNFing it. Nothing wrong with that at all, my friends. So anyway, until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.